Well, hello my friends, and welcome back. Cumberland Outdoorsman out here at my shooting range on a cold and frosty mid-February day. Yesterday and the day before we had a ton of rain come down. I mean, it absolutely just flooded everything around here. There's a lot of flash flood warnings and everything is just soaking wet. But now everything's frozen because the temperature really dropped. It brought a cold front in behind it. But anyway, I'm out here this evening because I just recently picked up another old 22. Yes, this is another video for my 22 rimfire series. This is a Remington model 552. I believe this one here is a 1988 model. Not really sure. But the reason I picked this up is because I got a really good deal on it. And overall, it's in pretty good shape, I would say. This is a BDL. It has the checkering and the grip cap there, and I've got an original first year production model 552 that's a standard model, and I'll be showing you that in this video in case you haven't seen that yet. But I wanted to get this old gun out here and just check it for functionality. I ran a bore snake through the barrel and it looks to be in really good shape, but there's some light rust freckling all over the barrel here and also on the magazine tube. It just needs a really good cleaning up, I think, and it should make a nice addition. But while I'm here, let me go ahead and take a few shots and see if we can connect with those steel targets down there. All right, here we go. All right, seems to be working without a hitch. Smooth operation. You know, these 552s have always been very reliable. If you keep them clean, they're gonna shoot. Now, as I mentioned, this is the BDL model. It has the press checkering. It came from the factory with black walnut stock, this black butt plate, and grip cap cover. Now, the checkering is not cut. It is pressed, but it's not a plain stock and fore-end. Also, the sights on it are higher grade. This is what you'll find on the Remington model 700, fully adjustable rear sight for windage and elevation, and also this I like to call it a shark fin front sight. This reminds me of the front sight that came on the nylon 66 models, held on by 2 screws, and it has this brass bead on the front. And just a handsome rifle, really. Nice little gun. Any of you that own one of these rifles, I'm sure you cherish it very well. And as far as I can tell, you know, the older one that I've got, along with this one here, just from handling it here at the range and shooting it, they seem to be very dependable guns. And they just shoulder very nicely. You know, you've got a full-size rifle feel to it, even though it's a rimfire. But I want to take it inside, get it cleaned up. So let's go inside, get warmed up by the fire, and commence to working on these old 22s. Well guys, it sure feels a lot better in here, close to that fire, than it did outside. But anyway, here's that old Remington. I've featured this old gun before. This is the original Remington box that the 552 came in. This is a first year production. Actually, first month of the first year. Model 552. You've seen this gun before if you follow my channel. I've shot it at my range, and I've also taken it squirrel hunting in the past. I've owned it for a few years now, and I had an old friend that gave me this box that the Model 552 first came in. This is an original Remington box. It's got a rabbit on one side and a squirrel on the other. So that shows you what these old guns were made for, and that's small game hunting. I just thought it was neat to have a first year production in that model with an original box, you know. But I'm going to restore this one here and be using it in the future, and we'll test it out on the range to see how accurate that rifle is. So let's go ahead and clean up this little Remington 552. I'll pan down here so you can see what I'm doing, and I'll show you the proper care on this old rifle. I've had a lot of people that own these guns that have asked me to take one apart and clean it and show how it's done. So in this video I'll be covering that, and if you own a Remington 552, it doesn't matter if it's the deluxe model or the standard model, the steps are all the same. So let me get panned down here and we'll get started. Okay, first order of business, make sure the gun is not loaded. We'll go ahead and take this magazine tube out, lay it aside because we're going to be cleaning it up as well. And then these 552s, they have this little deflector shield on the side. Get the right screwdriver bit. If you have a gunsmith screwdriver set like I've got here, then all the better. You really need the right screwdrivers if you're going to work on guns, because you don't want to mar up the head of your gun screws. You can see that needs cleaning up real bad. Okay. Now there's a screw down here that will loosen the fore end and also aid in taking this gun apart. But first of all, we're going to take out these two pins right here, and the whole trigger assembly can be removed after doing that. Just pull these pins right out. There you can see the whole trigger and hammer assembly right there. That can be cleaned up. Gives you full access to the whole breech area here, where you can get in here and clean all this powder fouling. All right. Go ahead and remove this fore end screw. Get it loosened up. There you can see the spring and the slide here, the action slide. Boy, that needs some lube in it bad. I mean really bad. And then we'll go ahead and remove this screw right here on the front that holds the magazine tube in. Okay. Always make sure you get the right screwdriver head. Keep up with all these little screws, because you're sure going to need them when you get ready to put it back together. Slide this forward, then you can remove this spring back here. Make sure you keep your hand over that spring like I did, so that it doesn't fly across the room on you. Okay, when you take this fore end off, make sure you keep up with this screw here. Off camera, I removed this stock. What you do is you take the butt plate off here, 2 screws, and then there's one long screw that's in the middle there. It's just a regular flathead screwdriver. And now we can remove the barrel from the receiver so that I can get all this cleaned out here. And sometimes these will be stuck on here pretty good. You can't really budge them. So what I did is I soaked it down with some Hoppies number 9. And I think this should come off here now. So we're going to use this mallet here and just tap it lightly. There. Now you can remove the barrel from the receiver. Here you got this charging rod and handle, and there's your bolt. And as you can see, it's really dirty. It's just nasty. So while I got it apart, I'm going to go ahead and clean it up, and I'm going to rub the barrel down with a copper penny and some solvent, some Hoppies number 9 solvent, and get all that rust freckling off of there. I'll go ahead and remove these sights so that I can get underneath the sight and get it all cleaned up, and then we'll reassemble it. Well guys, I got all the parts from this model 552 cleaned and ready to assemble, and I went ahead and took the liberty of putting the stock back on the action here on the receiver. And all it is just a bolt that goes through there. You just line it up and tighten it down, and it mounts the receiver back on the stock. And then all you have to do is put the butt plate back on with these 2 screws. So I'm going to go ahead and pan down here and show you how to put the rest of this assembly back together correctly, and then we'll take it out and we'll test fire it. Okay, first of all, what we want to do is go ahead and get this barrel assembly put back together. This is the bolt. It's been totally cleaned and put back together. There you've got the extractor claw and the firing pin all in one piece right here. So just go ahead and install this back into the barrel just like that. Okay? And then we'll go ahead and take our receiver and get it ready to assemble. This is the bolt buffer assembly, the recoil buffer, and the way it goes in is just like that. Okay, there's a little tab right here that fits into a notch inside the receiver, and then this piece right here aligns with this metal piece, and the back of the bolt actually strikes this metal piece, and it's cushioned by this buffer right here. Okay, and once it's back in place, that's the way it should look right there. Hope I can show you that the camera captures that. That's the way it should look once it's back together. Okay? Okay, now we're going to go ahead and put this barrel and bolt assembly back into the action. But you have to put this charging handle and charging lever here back into place. And this right here is what engages your bolt. Okay? So when you put it back together, this is the arrangement. This is what it should look like. As that bolt travels rearward, that's how it should slide back and forth. Just like that. Okay? So we'll go ahead and get these put back together here. And it should all slide together in one unit. Just like that. Make sure that your buffer assembly stays in place. And right here, this bolt hole right here should line up. Okay, and once you get the barrel and bolt assembly in place here in the receiver, there should be no movement up and down or back and forth. That should be fairly rigid right there. A good tight fit. Okay, now it's time to reinstall this magazine tube. And remember, you have to put this fore-end stock piece on as you reassemble it. Okay guys, now the tricky part, installing this spring without it flying out. The way I like to do it is I just set the gun upside down like this, and I'll start to install this right here by keeping the coils compressed. Make sure you keep your hand over it in case it tries to jump out, just like it just did, okay? Once you get it all lined up, you can go ahead and slide the magazine tube back into position here so that it aligns with the receiver, just like that. Now you can go ahead and put your fore-end bolt back in. Use the right screwdriver bit. You want to keep your gun looking good by not marring up the screws. Okay, I'm not going to totally tighten it down yet until I get this magazine tube positioning screw right here in place. And this is a shouldered screw. It's a tiny little screw with a shoulder on it. I think you can see that. And we'll go ahead and get it in place. Now we can go ahead and tighten down this fore-end screw here. That'll hold everything together up here. Now once you get this together, the charging handle should move freely. Now I'm going to show you a little trick, folks. On a lot of these Model 552s, even though that bolt is tight, this fore-end right here feels loose. Feels loose on here. It rattles around. I think you can hear that. All that is a little bit of play between the magazine tube and the forend, but you can take that play out. What I do is I install a thin piece of plastic right there and just push it all the way home. Now the forend is solid. There's no movement whatsoever. It's just enough of a shim right here at the forend to fill that gap between the tube and the forend of the stock. Okay guys, I went ahead and started the screws for this deflector plate right here, and you want to make sure and hand start them first before you start cinching them down, because they're very easy to cross thread. Okay, now that's back in place. Now then, it's time to reinstall the trigger and hammer assembly. And it's really easy to do. I went ahead and put this plate on. When I put the stock on, it just snaps in there. There's no screws that hold that on. This little plate in the front. All it is really is a dust cover. But we can go ahead and reinstall this. Just have to make sure you get all your bolt holes lined up. You can pull back on the charging handle, and that'll get everything started back in place. The smaller pin goes in the front and the larger pin in the rear. Now take a soft mallet like this nylon mallet here and just gently tap it home. And now the 552 is completely reassembled. Okay? Not too bad. Now we'll go ahead and slide this brass magazine tube back into place. Now this little rifle is completely reassembled. All we need to do now is get it back out on the shooting range, test fire it, clean it once again, and this little gun is ready for service. Well, my friends, I got this little Remington model 552 Speedmaster put back together. And now we're going to test it out here at my shooting range to make sure that it functions the way it should. The Remington Model 552 Speedmaster is one of the few semi-automatic 22 rimfires that will shoot 22 short, long, and long rifle interchangeably. And that's what I've got loaded here in this tubular magazine. As you can see here on the barrel, 22 short, long, and long rifle. And here's an example of the 22 short, the 22 long, and then of course the most familiar, the 22 long rifle. And we're going to see if this little gun will shoot them all interchangeably, just like it's supposed to. Okay, we'll go ahead and put the safety on, get charged up, and see how well this little gun will cycle all three varieties of this ammunition I've got loaded into it. So here we go. That was a 22 short. That was the 22 long. and that was the 22 long rifle. So yes, this gun is working perfectly, just like it should. Actually, the Model 552 is one of the most dependable 22 semi-automatic rifles, very reliable, that you can get, you know. And if you're looking for a good rifle that'll last you for your lifetime, the Model 552, I think, will fit that bill. You know, these guns are very much loved by their owners, and there's a lot of folks out there that have used these to hunt small game with, or just to plink and target shoot all their lives, and they really think a lot of these old guns, and it's no wonder. They built a winner right here, folks. This is a great little rifle. And for those of you that own a Remington Model 552 Speedmaster, you know well what I'm talking about. So thanks a lot for coming along. I hope you enjoyed this video. And remember, if you like to go hunting, fishing, camping, shooting, hiking, no matter what your outdoor activity happens to be, I hope you enjoy it as much as I do. But also remember this: hit that like button, smash that bell icon, and subscribe. That way you'll know when more videos like this one will be coming your way. So y'all get out there and enjoy the great outdoors. And if you take your 22s out and have fun, just make sure and do it safely. I'll be seeing you next time.